Couples, today we're going to talk about being quick to listen, and we're going to look at a verse from James chapter 1. So let's start with this. Most of us would probably say we would rather talk than listen, right? Especially when we're in an argument, especially when we're fighting. And why is that? Well, it's because we're trained to think that we need to win every argument. We want to be right. So we talk until we either convince or perhaps exhaust our spouse. Now, here's the problem. Your spouse probably wants the same thing, to win. So you both start arguing and debating, but never resolve anything because neither of you want to, quote unquote, lose. Now, the other problem with that is neither of you are willing then to stop yourself from talking long enough to even hear the other's perspective. Now, here's what I want to drive home today about the idea of listening, because I think our culture makes us feel like listening is kind of a weak response. But don't be fooled. Listening is not a passive response. It's not a foolish or weak position to be in. It is the catalyst for healthy communication. I think that's really important to start from that place. Now let's look at James chapter 1, verse 19. It says, "You must all be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry." Boy, is that a short little verse packed with some tough things, right? Quick to listen. That's the godly response, is to listen first, be slow to speak, and then slow to get angry. What a difference that could make in our marriages and in our conflicts if both of you could come into your conversations being quick to listen first. Because here's the deal. Listening is the key ingredient to healthy conflict resolution. And without that skill, your marriage is going to be full of frustrating, unresolved disagreements. Perhaps that's why you clicked on this video today, because that's essentially and especially what you're experiencing right now. Conflict is something to fear because you never get anywhere because one or both of you never listen, and you're just arguing and stating your case and debating it all day long and never getting anywhere. Now, because that's not necessarily a natural response for us, I wanted to give us just a few key things that we could do to start practicing the skill of listening. And what I call that is being an active listener. So you're not just being passive, just sitting there letting words come through your ears, but you're being active as a listener. So the first thing is that you recognize your spouse has their own point of view. That's so important to start in any conflict, in any conversation that you're having, that you have a perspective, but so does your spouse. Now, use the spoon. That's a thing that's a really good practical skill, that if you're holding the article, if you're holding the spoon, then you have the floor. You're talking. So the spouse who's not holding the spoon is in the position of listening. And then when you're done, you pass the spoon to your spouse, and then your spouse has the floor, so to speak. And it's just a good, helpful tool. It might sound silly, but I promise you, if that's what you guys need because you're used to just talking over the other and raising your voice, using the spoon could be really good in starting off just this idea of that one person's listening while the other one's talking. The third thing is use the phrase, "So what I hear you saying is." Boy, is that a key phrase that makes such a difference in communication. So you're active in your response to say, "So what I just heard you say is ... and fill in the blanks. And what a difference that makes for your spouse to feel like not only are you listening, but you were able to repeat it back in your own words to show that you have some understanding, that you're trying to get on the same page. Use that phrase. I promise you that'll bring good things. And the last thing is that you're listening to identify possible solutions, right? Because the goal here at the end of the day is that you move past the disagreement and the argument, and you get to a place where you can move on, that you're heading in a good direction. So those are just a couple good ideas that you could start practicing being an active listener, and hopefully these questions will help in that conversation as well.